All right, we got 1 mile for time today. Got some brand new shoes. I'm gonna whip out. Not sponsored, no kickbacks, but they just came in the mail, so I'm gonna try them out for the mile trial today. So these are the new. I think it's a brand new type from Ultra, the Ultra Forward Experience. I'm a big Ultra fan. These have like a 4 millimeter drop, which I'm not used to. Used to 0 millimeter drop. We're gonna see what it does for the mile today. It's a little bit about my training, what I've been doing. A ton of zone 2 work. So I've been doing 3-4 days a week zone 2 stuff. 1 day a week I've been trying to get in some speed work. Typically it's 10 by 400 meters. Those are the ones that I've been doing, but I haven't honestly been super consistent with my speed work. I've been way more consistent with the zone 2, just easy running. So I'm actually very interested to see how the mile time is going to go today, because I know my zone 2 fitness is a lot better, but my top end I haven't been working on as much. But I haven't ran a mile for time in like 2 years, so I'm really interested to see where this pops out. Originally, when I first started running again, I think I was closer to what the pacing was looking like, was like 7.5 minute mile. So that's why I didn't even want to run one when I first started running again, like 4 or 5 months ago, because I was like, no, I'm not logging a 7.5. Like, I just can't do it. So my fastest mile time ever is like a 5:12. And so today, I'd be really happy with anything sub 6:30, sub 6 minutes, and I'll be blown away. I'd be super happy, because that's kind of the goal right now. So I'm gonna put on the shoes, start warming up, run a mile. We'll see where I end up. I pulled my lat on Monday. It's Thursday today. It's been getting better every day. I strained it, pulled it, something. That's one thing bothering me right now. Lower half feels good. I'll do about a half-mile warm up. Not long after that, I'll jump into mile for time. Feeling good. Weather's good. Not too hot. It's a little more humid than I would like, but it's only a mile.
How'd that go?
I hit a 5:53, so pretty happy with that. Damn. Overall. Lap 2, 5:53. Brutal. Things I noticed. One, that hurt a lot more than zone 2 has. Hamstrings are definitely feeling it. Other thing, either my heart rate monitor was off, or I didn't hit zone 4 until like after a half mile. I hit zone 4 like 0.7. So I'd say I could be running faster, but I really don't feel like I could. So it could have been a heart rate monitor. Didn't kill me, didn't crush me. I'm happy, sub 6, super pumped with that. Still far from a PR. If I want a PR, my ultimate mile time, a lot more zone 2, a lot more speed work, that's for sure.
So, I mean, doing all the zone 2 could be helping your overall heart rate though.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like if the heart rate monitor is right, I was in zone 3 for over half that run, which is crazy, because I kept looking down. I was like, I feel like it's a little bit higher than that, but who knows? I was feeling it more in my legs, which is a muscular thing, so my quads and my hammies were kind of getting blown up, but it feels good to run fast. I haven't done that in a while. I started the run at a 4:30 pace, and I did that kind of intentionally because I have to go out this hill in my neighborhood. I was like, I want to speed up at first. And I looked at my heart rate and I was like, this doesn't look right. I should be in zone 4. Okay, let's talk about programming. I mentioned that I have been doing some speed work. I've been neglecting it. Honestly, I haven't been doing as much as I should. Not as consistent on the speed side. But what I do and what I have been doing are 10 by 400 meters. And the reason I do that workout
is because Roger Bannister, he's the guy who ran the first sub 4-minute mile. There's an entire book about that journey and his process. But back then when he was training, there was nothing like what people are doing today with, carbon fiber shoes and their different fuel types and like all that kind of crap. He was running in some crappy track shoes that he made. He built the track himself, like he would do it in his off time. He'd run between classes. He was also in medical school. And one of the big workouts that he did was 10 by 400 meter with 2-minute rest. Nothing like today's performance standards. And I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not an athlete who has hours and hours to train. I have 3 kids. I have a job that's pretty demanding. And so I took a page out of his book, 10 by 400 meter, 2-minute rest, just try and get those faster and faster. And I'm definitely going to, as I start training more, add that, be more consistent with that because I want to get that mile time even faster. So I was at 5:53 today. My fastest I've ever done is 5:12. That's a long shot. Like that's really far away. I have a lot of work to put in. So I'll keep doing those 10 by 400 meters. And if you go to do these 10 by 400 meters, it's something that you want to add to your programming. It's pretty simple. So 10 by 400 meter, 2-minute rest. You can play with the rest. I normally recommend people be recovered. You'll start to be less recovered at around that 2-minute mark, but I think that's also good for conditioning your body. Now, as you do these 10 by 400 meters, the pacing is what I think is the most important because you want to keep slightly faster than whatever your goal mile time is. So typically I would be running my 400 meters not as fast as I could possibly run a 400 meter, but also not at like a 6-minute mile pace if that was my goal. So in the middle between those things. So I'd typically be running like a 5:25 mile pace, a 5:30 mile pace, sometimes a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower, but I try to maintain consistency in there. And that's how you start to build that speed because you're experiencing a top end speed that you can't right now sustain for 4 full laps or what would be a mile, but you are getting practice at that higher zone. You're building your VO2 max. You're getting some muscular endurance in there and doing all the things that you need to be able to train to run a faster mile time. I'm a huge believer in zone 2, building out that aerobic base. That's really important for getting faster in the mile, but I do think that you need a significant amount of strength work. Like I think you need pretty strong legs to run a fast mile, unless you're just an insane endurance athlete. Those guys who are running 2-hour marathons with 4:30-mile paces. But if you are more like me, you train an hour a day, you're trying to be good at lots of different things in the fitness world. You need to have pretty strong legs. So don't be scared of the squats. Don't be scared of high rep squats. Don't be scared of the deadlifts. All those kind of things, anything you can do to get your legs as strong as possible, I think that goes a long way in getting a faster mile time. So wrapping up the mile here, what I've been trying to do is the rebuild. That's what we've been calling some of these videos that we've been putting out. It's the rebuild, and it's really me bouncing back from a pretty serious back injury that took me away from my normal performance standards for about 2 years. And I say normal performance standards because I was able to train during that entire time. I was always doing something. I was still training. I was still putting in the work. I was very consistent. But I lost some performance in the process of being hurt. And so now I'm looking to get some of that performance back. It's still not all the way back. It's not where I want it to be. But my mile time has clicked below 6 minutes. I'm pretty happy with that. Calisthenics are getting better. I'm adding in more strength work. Those numbers are going back up. So what am I going to do from here? Well, what I'm looking to do now is actually a 50K race. So that's beyond a marathon. It'll be the furthest distance I've ever done. And it's done in a kind of that last man standing format. I'm doing this with one other Garage Gym Athlete member in April of next year. I'm going to put in a lot of training for this race. So what it is, you run a 5K, I think every 2 hours. It's actually not that demanding, but you go until you have run, 30 whatever miles, whatever it ends up being a 50K. So that's what I'm training for next. That's where this process is going. So I'll be putting in a lot more mileage. I'll be making sure I'm still hitting some speed work because I don't want to lose my mile time. Most of my strength work will be a programming style that we have that's called body geometry. I feel that the chances of me getting injured when I'm doing body geometry because of how it's programmed are much, much less. We have some videos on body geometry. If you want to learn any more about that, you can check out more videos on the YouTube channel. But it's just a really well-rounded strength methodology that's going to keep me, kind of injury-proofed as I go through this process. Fingers crossed, no injuries come as I increase the volume and I, get more and more in running. But I'd love to experience doing an ultra without having to, do anything crazy. See if I even kind of like the sport, if it's something I want to do more of. Not 100% sure right now. I know I don't actually enjoy runs after they get past like 8 miles. I've done a couple of those recently, and I kind of lose interest. I get pretty bored. But all the more reason to go and do it right. I can train hard. I can sharpen my mental fortitude and do something I don't want to do for 50,000 meters. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Try to balance the strength in the process, and I will keep all of you updated in the journey as I train more and more for this. And again, like I said, hopefully no injuries, and it's just going to be a good time, a good race in April. But I got to get training if I want to even think about surviving, because what I've done in the past with all the endurance races I've ever done is just that. I've survived these races, just barely survived the races, blown my body apart in the process. This is the first race I want to train for and go in and be like, okay, I'm trained, I'm showing up today, ready to do this. Not to compete, because there are going to be guys there who, like, this is their sport. So I'm not there to win, but I'm there to perform. I'm there to do the best that I possibly can with 6 months of training. And to be honest, it's not something I've ever done for an endurance race before. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I look forward to you being a part of the journey. So in training for a 50K, what I want to do to try and stay injury-free is, one, listen to my body. I think that's one thing that I have not been very good at over the last couple of years. Put some duct tape on it, take some Motrin, ignore it, whatever. No, I've been okay about that at times, but other times if I'm like pushing towards a specific goal, like I have a race date or whatever, I'm going to do whatever I have to make sure that I perform and I go do that thing. So I'm going to listen to my body. Like if I'm injured, I'm not going to do the race. Like if I hurt my knee or my back or whatever, a month out, I'm just not going to do the race. I won't do it. I don't have that kind of ego anymore to where I would go do that injured David Goggins style and ruin the next year of my life. So I'm going to be doing a lot to stay injury free. I'm going to be listening to my body. That's the first thing. Take a day off if I need it. A lot of mobility work is going to be in my future. Can't neglect that. I feel like when I went for the 500-pound back squat, the 5-minute mile, that was one of the first things to go is mobility, just because I didn't have time. So I'm going to work on my mobility a lot more. I'm going to be doing the sauna and the cold plunge religiously, probably every single day. I really feel like the biggest thing that helps me with is sleep. It might not be the best recovery modality in the world. We've looked at all the studies on recovery, so the best thing that you can really do for recovery is just blood flow, zone 2 training, getting on a bike, moving your body, those kind of things. But sauna and cold plunge help me so much with my sleep, so that's one thing I'll be doing for recovery. And then I have already kind of mentioned, but body geometry. So body geometry is where the strength methodology we have that balances out different planes of movement, because when you don't balance out different planes of movement, that's where these silly injuries come up when you're doing what you feel are everyday activities and you bend the wrong way and then you get hurt. So body geometry, it's balancing the planes of movement, it's making sure that that's there. It's making sure that all the different muscle contractions are in there a lot of times, eccentric, concentric, isometric. One of those might get ignored, so making sure that I'm doing all of those all the time. It also makes sure that I'm hitting all the different movement patterns, every single week. It's just a really well-balanced program. And I feel like a lot of times if people are trying to combine strength and running, it's hard to do powerlifting style lifting with running. It's just too demanding. So a lot of people will do hypertrophy and running, so just like muscle building stuff, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like it sets you up for only ever being in one plane of movement, and I feel like your chance of injury increases, and at least I know that's what will happen with my body. So I'm not necessarily trying to build muscle in this process. I'm just trying to stay injury free, maintain some strength levels, and build a massive aerobic base.